What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, coach of the Miami Palafins, bringing you guys my team builder for week number 2 of the BBR D-League season number 1, where this week we are taking on the Grand Rapids Gholdengo, coached by Obo. His links will be in the description down below. Be sure to check him out, as well as all the other coaches taking part for BBR D-League season number 1. If you guys missed our week 1 battle, we took on T-Row and his Columbus Cabalions in that matchup, and we unfortunately did take a 2-0 loss in that match. So not exactly the start we were hoping for this season, but we still have enough time to turn around and pick up that first win and hopefully get back to even. Unfortunately, it won't come easy against Obo's team, especially considering he has a lot of threats to take into account in this matchup. Granted, he only has 9 Pokemon, but regardless of that, he still has a multitude of threats. So just to quickly go through the team real quick, his Terra Captain, as you see, well, not as you see, but his Terra Captain is the Chen Pao, which has the option to be Terra Dark or Terra Electric. Terra Electric doesn't make any sense in this matchup, just because him being electric type doesn't really do anything for him. Like dual stab is hitting everything on my team. Chen Pao, regardless, is still probably the most annoying and one of the most threatening Pokemon to deal with, and for the most part, my matchup against dark types aren't really the best, considering my fairy is a dash bun. I might look into changing that some point in the future, who knows, but regardless, aside from Chen Pao, he also has stuff like the Garchomp, which can be a pretty annoying Pokemon to deal with. I do have ways of checking it, but they're not foolproof, but regardless, it can still be manageable with my team. Same thing with Cinderace, even though Libero is allowed. Since with the Libero nerf, it's a bit more manageable depending on what typing he decides to go to that may benefit me in the matchup. And then other stuff like the Quaquaval, even the Gengar, despite the fact that I have a Garganacl which can check it, again, it's not really a guaranteed ghost check in this sense, just because of the fact that Gengar can still 2 a KO even Spadef Garganacl with Focus Blast. And then other stuff like the Toadscrew can be a little bit annoying, just being able to, at the very least, spore the Garganacl if he decides to predict me. Like, I don't really have the most reliable spore switch-ins. Yes, I have a Meowscarada, but I don't really want to switch hard into it, despite the fact that it does resist its dual stab. Might just make things a bit more problematic for me. And then even the lower tier stuff like the Farigiraf and even going down to the Glamet can have their own bit of annoyance in the sense of being a ghost immunity and a way of setting up toxic spikes, which with toxic debris, if I make if it makes contact with that. So all of its Pokemon does have some variety and some way of being a hindrance in this matchup. But the other thing to take into account is, for the most part, Obo's team is mostly physically dominant. Like, he has his special attackers, but the more hard-hitting stuff, aside from like the Gengar, for the most part, is predominantly physical, and hopefully I can take advantage of that in this matchup. So without further ado, just jumping right into what I ended up bringing for this matchup. So first off, we have my Dragapult with the leftovers Dragon Pulse, Shadow Ball, Fire Blast substitute. So this set is pretty straightforward in terms of what it's designed to do. Just hit everything as hard as possible. Dragon Pulse is pretty spammable against his team, aside from the Klefki, which is the only reason why Fire Blast is really on this set. Shadow Ball hits the Gengar super effectively, and then we have Substitute. It could have been literally any other move. It could have been U-Turn for momentum purposes, but at the very least, Substitute gives me the ability to, at the very least, scout out his sets, scout out Obo's moves. I can potentially go for Substitute, expecting the Cinderace to go for like a Sucker Punch. If he's Sucker Punch Chen Pao with no Ice Shard, then that's a possibility to look into going for Sub. And it lets me get information, which is basically the main reason why I went Sub over U-Turn. just so I can be a bit of a problem behind the sub and still rack up my damage. And with me being Infiltrator, I don't care about the Klefki going for dual screens. It also protects me from Klefki going for status moves if I can get up a sub before it goes for its Prankster Thunder Waves or whatever the case may be. But yeah, Dragapult set is pretty straightforward. Nothing much else to say about that. Just hit as hard as possible, max special attack, enough speed to guarantee outspeed Chien-Pao, and the rest is just thrown into its HP and defenses. Pretty straightforward set. Onto another straightforward set, we have my Life Orb Espathra with Terra Fighting, Luna Crash, Terra Blast, Dazzling Gleam, and Protect. Honestly, I probably don't even need Dazzling Gleam. It's really only there to guarantee do damage to Garchomp. That's pretty much the only thing it does, but if I'm able to chip down Garchomp with the rest of my team, then Dazzling Gleam becomes a bit of a not a liability, but it's more of like a filler move. Dazzling Gleam could probably get something else, maybe something like Roost or anything of the sort, to be honest. But Espathra's role is pretty straightforward. Protect and then just hit as hard as possible with its attacks. This is not designed to be set up. I just feel like the offense that Obo has will overwhelm Espathra to the point where I cannot actually set up Calm Minds or anything with this Espathra, so I figured the best way to go was to just go all out offensive and just hit everything as hard as I possibly can, and that's pretty much it. And then of course Protect is just there to not only scout for moves, but it also has the means of letting me outspeed stuff like Scarf Garchomp, which is what this set is designed to outspeed with its investment. So yeah, again, very straightforward, hard-hitting special attacker. Nothing was else to say in that regard to this Espathra. Then next up is my Focus Sash Meowscarada, which is pretty much going to be my dedicated lead in this matchup with Flower Trick, Knockoff, Low Kick, and U-Turn. I probably could have fit something like Spikes or something on this Meowscarada set, but I figured the best course of action to use Meowscarada was on the off chance he decided to like lead off with Chien-Pao, hopefully trying to like pick off one of my slower Pokemon and just do damage. I can live with my Focus Sash, and then I can retaliate with a Low Kick and knock out the Chien-Pao. So if I'm able to get rid of the Chien-Pao early on in the match, then that will benefit me, and then everything else is pretty straightforward. Flower Trick and Knockoff is just very spammable, and then U-Turn for momentum. Again, nothing much else to say about this. It's just a very straightforward Sash lead set with enough speed to guarantee outspeed the Cinderace. So, yeah, again, nothing much else to say about that. Now, moving on to the more bulky part of my team. So, first off is my Hariyama, which is going to be my dedicated Chien-Pao check. Now, there is no counter to Chien-Pao. That just doesn't exist in this situation or in any real universe. Even Corviknight can fall over time, but regardless, this is as close to a check as I can get for the Chien-Pao in this Hariyama. So what this Hariyama set does is it gives it the ability to switch into anything, anything that Chien-Pao decides to go for that's not, I think the one thing it cannot do is, like, basically the only thing that Chien-Pao can 2-hit KO this thing with is Aerial Ace. That is literally the only way that Chien-Pao beats this Hariyama. If he does not have Aerial Ace, he does not 2-hit KO this Hariyama at all. Because of Hariyama's bulk and its typing, it already resists Dark-type moves, and with Thick Fat, it also resists, gives it a resistance to Chien-Pao's Ice Stab. So the Ice Spinners, the Icicle Crashes, they won't be doing much damage to this Hariyama. And with that, I can also retaliate with a Punching Glove boosted Drain Punch and potentially knock that thing out. The other nice thing about having Punching Glove is it works really well with Hariyama here, considering it boosts the power of Hariyama's punching moves, while at the same time they do not make contact, so Hariyama does not have to worry about taking any rough skin or potentially Rocky Helmet damage from the Garchomp or any other Pokemon on his team that may have that item. And then for the most part, this set itself is fairly straightforward. Drain Punch for recovery and knocking out the Chien-Pao. Ice Punch is there for the Garchomp. Knockoff to get rid of items from his team, and more specifically to hit the Gengar if it decides to hard switch in on a Drain Punch. And then Bullet Punch for priority. As for the investment, I need all this bulk on the Hariyama, as it not only lets me take an Adamant, it lets me take, if I recall correctly, I can live 2 Adamant Choice Banded Terra Dark Crunches from Chien-Pao, or I avoid being one-hit KO'd by +2 Jolly unboosted Garchomp's Earthquake after Stealth Rock. I can take any of those hits, no problem. Shrug them off, kill Chien-Pao with Drain Punch, knock out the Garchomp with Ice Punch if it's not Yachi Berry. And yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. This is going to be my Chien-Pao response for this matchup. But like I said, those things don't really exist in the right circumstances. So yeah, that is the Hariyama set. Then moving on to my Gastrodon with leftovers with Earth Power, Ice Beam, Spikes, and Recover. Spoilers, there will not be any Stealth Rock on this team. Just looking at Obo's entire team, he has no Pokemon that is levitating or off the ground. So, barring Heavy Duty Boots on Chien-Pao, Cinderace, or any other Pokemon he brings, they will be taking Spikes damage. There's nothing much else to say about that. His entire team, barring Boots, is susceptible to Spikes, and I felt that that was the best thing to bring in the long term over Stealth Rock to try to get more damage off on the Chien-Pao and the Cinderace. I also forgot to mention that Hariyama can also check Cinderace if it does not have Zen Headbutt, so that's also nice for the thick fat as well. Gastrodon can also pseudo check the Cinderace if it does not have Trailblaze, but this is not going to be my Cinderace check anyway. I mean, it only checks it if it does not have Trailblaze. That's pretty much long and short of it. But yeah, the moveset in and of itself is very straightforward. Just Earth Power and Ice Beam is all I really need to hit everything on his team neutrally, barring like Magnet Rice Klefki. But even then, I would just try to get up Spikes. So we probably would just exchange Spikes at that instance. Granted, I do have to worry about the potential Rapid Spinners in his Quaquaval, and the Toedscruel. It also lets me pseudo check or soft check the Quaquaval as well, as it can't like Aqua Step or Wave Crash, whatever. So the EVs, the HP and the defense investments will guaranteed live 2 offensive Garchomps unboosted Earthquakes after Stealth Rock, and the rest just thrown into special defense to take hits better from stuff like the Gengar. And then finally we have my Garganacl with Salt Cure, Ice Punch, Earthquake, Recover, and with Safety Goggles. So like I mentioned before, my response to Toedscruel's Spore, like I said, I do have a Meowscarada, but I don't want to hard switch Meowscarada in to Toedscruel. I would want to avoid that if at all possible. And of course, with Toedscruel's ability of Mycelium Might, it can bypass Garganacl's Purifying Salt and put my Garganacl to sleep, which explains why we have Safety Goggles. Safety Goggles is there to ensure that I cannot be put to sleep by the Toedscruel, and I can retaliate with an Ice Punch and potentially knock that thing out. It's also there for the Garchomp. Salt Cure is just nice and spammable against its entire team, and then Earthquake lets me, at the very least, guarantee 2-hit KO the Gengar. But like I said, Gengar can 2-hit KO Garganacl with Focus Blast, even if I was full Spadef. So there was no point trying to live a hit from a Pokemon that can still knock me out in 2 hits. So I disregarded that. It still can check the Gengar, not completely, but at the very least I'll get information on the Gengar as to whether or not it's Life Orb, if it takes Recoil, if it's Specs, if it's Scarf, whatever. So yeah, the 60 attack EVs with the Adamant Nature lets me guarantee Oko, Max HP Toad Screw with Ice Punch, barring it's not Yachi Berry, and the rest is just max HP and the Rustins and Spadef to take those special attacks as best as I possibly can from his team. So, with that being said, that is going to be the team for this week. Hopefully, I can put in the work and pick up that first W. It's not going to be an easy one, but I feel like this team does have the capabilities of pulling it off. Granted, I am able to play it well enough. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the team builder. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like I said, check out my opponents and all the other coaches in the BBR D-League. Check them out down below. And yeah, that's going to be it from me. We'll see you guys for the battle on Monday. But until then, this is Tone, signing off for now. Peace out.